Welcome, boys and girls. What we're going to do in this lesson here is we're going to estimate using compatible numbers. And we estimate using compatible numbers when we divide. When we estimate with multiplication and when we estimate with division, we have to take our numbers and we have to round them differently in both. For example, when we took a number like 242 divided by 6, and we would estimate this, we would have to round the 242 to the nearest hundred, which would get you 200, and then you would take the single digit 200 and multiply it by 6, and we would get our answer of 1,200. That's how you would round with multiplying. But when we're rounding with division, we can't round that way. Alright, we have to use something called compatible numbers. Now in class we said the word compatible, we said if two people were compatible, that means they get along well. Well, when we talk about numbers being compatible, that means the numbers get along well. Let's take, for example, the number 241. And let's take that 241 divided by 7. Now, what we need to do is we need to take that 241 divided by 7, but we're not going to round this 241 to a 200. We're going to take a look at this 7, and we're going to think of multiples of 7 that are close to that 24. If I think of my multiples of 7, I think 7, 14, 21, 28. 21 is going to be the closest multiple of 7 to 24. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write that down. I'm going to really round it to 210. Now that I have that 210, I'm going to divide it by 7. I could use mental math to divide 210 divided by 7. My basic fact, 21 divided by 7 is going to equal 3. And I have 1 0 left over, which I add to my answer, and 210 divided by 7 equals 30. So my estimated answer for 241 divided by 7 is going to be 30. Let's take a look at another example here. We have 463 divided by 5. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at my 5, and I'm going to think of my multiples of 5 that are closest to this 46 here. I know 5 times 5 gets me 25. I'm thinking 5 times 8 gets me 40. 5 times 9 gets me 45, which is very close to that 46. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round that 463 to a 450. Now, my 5 and my 45 are compatible. 45 divided by 5, I know, is 9. I have 1 0 left over. I add that 0 to my answer, and 450 divided by 5 would get me 90. Therefore, that is my estimated answer for 463 divided by 5. So let's take a look at this example here. I have 3,124 divided by 6. My 6 and my 31 are not compatible. I'm looking at the first two numbers of the dividend. I could see they're not compatible. So what I need to do is I need to think of my multiples of 6 that are closest to that 31. I know 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. I could see here that my multiple of 6, 30, is closest to that 31. So I'm going to take that, and I'm really going to round that to a 3,000. I'm going to take that 3,000 divided by 6. I know if I have 30 divided by 6, that gets me 5 as my answer. I have 2 zeros left over, and I need to add that to my answer. And then the 3,000 divided by 6 would get me 500 as an answer. Because 500 times 6 would equal 3,000, so 3,000 divided by 6 is going to equal 500. And that's going to be my estimated answer for 3,124 divided by 6. That's how you use compatible numbers when the divisor is a single digit. Next thing I'm going to show you is what you do if the divisor is a double digit. Let's take, for example, the number 427 and let's divide that by, say, 82. Now what you do here is you have to take your divisor and you have to round that divisor to its greatest place. If I take my 82, I'm going to round that 82 to an 80. Once you round that divisor, if it's a 2-digit number, after you round that divisor, you follow the same steps as you were doing before. You take a look at this 8, pretend the 0 isn't there, and you take a look at that 42, and you think of your multiples of 8 that are closest to 42. I think 8 times 3 is 24, 8 times 4 is 32. I'm getting closer. 8 times 5 is 40. That gets me very close to 42. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round that 427 to a 400. And now I have 400 divided by 80. If I have 400 and I'm dividing it by 80, I first look at my basic fact of 40 divided by 8. I know 40 divided by 8 gets me 5 as an answer. Now, what you need to do here when you divide is you need to take this 0 and cancel it out with this 0 here. Unlike multiplication, we don't combine the zeros and add them to the answer. What we need to do when we divide is we need to cancel out our matching zeros. This 0 here would cancel out this 0 in the divisor, and you're left with 5. 5 times 80 would equal 400. Therefore, 400 divided by 80 is going to equal 5. Okay, here's one last example. We have our 1,137. We're dividing it by 21. When you have two digits here, what you first do is you round the divisor. You round it to its greatest place, which would be 20. And what you're going to do is you're going to pretend that that 0 is not there. You're just going to focus on that 2, and you're going to think of your multiples of 2, and you're going to look at the first two digits in the dividend and see what multiple of 2 is closest to that 11. If I was counting by 2's, I know 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 12 gets me closest to that 11. So I round this to 1,200. And I take that 1,200 and I divide it now by this 20. I look at my basic fact now. 12 and 2 are compatible. 12 divided by 2 equals 6. What happens here is this 0 will cancel out this 0 in the divisor, and you're left with 1 0 that you add to your answer, and you get your estimated answer of 60. 1,200 divided by 20 equals 60, because 60 times 20 equals the 1,200. And that's how you divide, that's how you estimate using compatible numbers when divided.